Imagine this. You're chilling at a cafe and out of nowhere, you lock eyes with a stranger. Your heart starts racing. Is this love at first sight or just a bunch of neurochemicals doing their thing? Today, we're going to dive deep into the intriguing world of limerence, where infatuation and obsession blur the lines of reality. We're going to uncover the science behind this intense emotional state and explore whether love at first sight is just a myth or a marvel of human connection. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what limerence is. We're going to discuss if limerence has debunked the concept of love at first sight or if they're two separate and distinct things. And if you stick around for the most important part at the end, we're going to talk about what limerence is really trying to tell you. It's going to give you some of the biggest insights into your relationship with yourself, and using those insights can help you transform your love life in the best way possible. So, stay tuned. If you're new to this channel, I'll take you through this video in a lot of detail, but very quickly, welcome to Dark Psychology World channel. My name is Dave. I'm glad you're here. I put out pretty much daily content here about attachment styles, the subconscious mind, and how we can really heal. There are 4 major things happening all the time, and I'm actually going to take you through a slide so you can see this yourself and summarize it. So, you're asking, what's limerence? And what's it got to do with love at first sight? Well, the concept of limerence was first introduced by Dorothy Tenov back in 1979. She described limerence as a state of mind where someone is obsessively infatuated with another person and constantly thinks about them to the point where it impacts their daily life. But what's the difference between simple infatuation and limerence? And how does this all tie back to love at first sight? Well, limerence has 6 major distinct differences from a simple crush or infatuation. The first one is the frequency of obsession. Someone in limerence will actually obsess about their object of limerence or the person they have these obsessive feelings for in intense episodes of frequency. In fact, you may wake up obsessing about your object of limerence, think about them constantly throughout the day, and then think about them before you go to sleep at night and even dream about them. The second major factor is the intensity of the obsession. It won't just be something you're ruminating about, but something that is very intense in terms of how it emotionally impacts your life. You may find that you have really overwhelming and intense feelings for this person, or so it seems. You may also find that you feel a sense of resistance in even stopping thinking about this person or even questioning and thinking about any negative points of this person. In other words, your overall perception of this person tends to be extremely one-sided, extreme rose-colored glasses. The third factor is the degree of self-abandonment that takes place. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, what I mean is that when we are in a state of limerence, you will tend to think so much about the other person that you're actually a little bit out of touch with your own daily feelings, needs, and boundaries. You may not even realize it. The fourth factor is the impact that being in a state of limerence has on your daily life. Some very obvious examples of this include things like not being able to focus at work, or perhaps if you had really important career goals, you find yourself brushing them off or pushing them to the sideline in favor of ruminating and focusing on this person. You may find that you spend extra money in the financial area of life to impress them. You may find that you abandon time that you would have otherwise spent with friends or family members to either fixate on this person or to spend time with them if there does tend to be reciprocity. The fifth factor is that limerence actually deeply impacts your emotional state. You may have these intense highs when you are in this state of limerence, followed by these intense lows if you feel any sense of rejection from this person or a lack of the needle moving towards reciprocity. Which really brings me to the sixth factor, which is when we are in a state of limerence, there doesn't always have to be reciprocity for us to have these intense feelings. So, what is limerence actually telling us, and does it really disprove love at first sight? Well, I can't sit here and tell you whether or not there's some sort of spiritual or higher power element to love and romance. But what I can ask you is, do we deeply know somebody enough to truly love them immediately? I think it's a really important question to ask yourself. And are there pointed differences between love and romance, and how do these apply to the 6 stages of relationships? So, I want to explain a really important concept here to really tie in the similarities that may exist between limerence and love at first sight. See, relationships have 6 stages. First, you start dating someone and getting to know them. Then, once there's some sort of commitment, you move into the honeymoon stage. This stage usually lasts for about a year or 2 before you enter the power struggle stage. This is where most relationships end statistically. To move past the power struggle stage and not let the relationship fall apart, you have to really let the other person in. This means letting them see your fears, flaws, and triggers, and communicating more about your needs. This should be a two-way street, with the other person also sharing these things. Through this deeper bonding, the power struggle stage gives us the opportunity to shift from conditionally based love or infatuation to unconditionally based love. This kind of love has deeper roots and increases the likelihood of the relationship lasting. Once you get past the power struggle stage, you move into the stability, commitment, and bliss stages. This is based on the work of Susan Johnson. Now, I have some exciting news. Integrated attachment theory training is back. This is for anyone who wants to make an impact and be of service to others, while also obtaining freedom, flexibility, and abundance in their lives. It's also for anyone who's already a counselor, therapist, or coach and wants to expand their toolkit. We've had many people join the Integrated Attachment Theory program because they want to understand their own attachment patterns and those of their loved ones so they can support and understand them more deeply. If you're interested, click the link below to learn more. Now, understanding these different stages of a relationship and recognizing that in the early stages we have more conditionally based love, and it's not until at least the power struggle stage that we can build deeper roots into more unconditionally based love. How does this tie back to Limerence and what it's really telling us? As someone who worked with clients for the better part of a decade and saw roughly 30 to 40 clients a week for somewhere between 8.5 and 10 years, I can tell you that I had over 18,000 different client sessions, and I did not see an exception to this pattern when someone would fall into Limerence. It always represented two underlying very important things. Number one, Limerence would have represented some sort of deeply unmet need or set of needs that a person was starving for. For example, I had a client at one point who was actually engaged. She was about to get married, and she came to work with me because she wanted to dig into some of these doubts or concerns she had before really going full steam ahead into planning her wedding and officially being married. In one of our first few sessions, this woman came into my office and dropped a bombshell. She said she had to call off her wedding. I was shocked because she seemed so committed to her relationship. When we dug into why, she said she met someone at a coffee shop. She spilled her coffee, and this person helped her clean up. She said she fell in love at first sight. But when we explored it further, it turned out that this person made her feel seen and important. This person stopped their phone call, helped her clean up the coffee, picked up her keys, and was really present with her. They started chatting and connecting, and she said it was the first time in a long time that she felt someone's undivided attention. Looking back at her childhood, we found that she never felt like she truly mattered to her very busy parents. Even with her current fiancé, she wasn't getting those needs met. So when someone came along who represented these needs, she felt a deep infatuation almost immediately. Now, when we look at the 6 stages of a relationship, we know that it takes work to deeply understand someone. You need to know their fears, flaws, wounds, needs, and concerns. So the question is, did she really fall in love with him at first sight? Or was she drawn to someone who represented the deep unmet needs she'd been hungering for her entire life? There's a second part to this. It's not just about needs, but also traits. There's something known as trait variety. Biologically, we're wired to be attracted to people who express traits that we're repressed in or disconnected from. For example, if someone is very assertive and you struggle to set boundaries in your own life, you might be attracted to that person because they're expressing a trait you feel out of touch with. Or if someone seems extremely confident and you're feeling insecure, you might feel drawn to that person. Through countless conversations in more than 18,000 client sessions, I've seen these patterns remain consistent. When someone falls into limerence, they're actually coming from a place of having deep unmet needs and repressed traits. When their object of limerence comes around, they feel extraordinarily drawn to that person. But we can argue that they're not drawn to the totality of the person. In fact, what they're truly drawn to are the traits and needs that person represents. So, how can you use these insights to change your love life? Well, by understanding that your object of limerence represents deeply unmet needs and traits that you feel disconnected from, you can start to do the work. This involves sitting down and asking yourself, when I've had these intense infatuations or obsessive thoughts about someone I'm in limerence with, what am I actually trying to get from them? Do I imagine that we connect and this person is very present with me, making me feel seen and heard? Do I imagine this person makes me feel really important or like I matter? When you examine this, you'll start to see that this person represents deeply unmet needs that you've probably been longing to experience since early childhood or at least throughout your adult romantic life. Going a step deeper, you may find that this person is expressing traits that are really important for you to start integrating, like having a healthy sense of assertiveness, developing healthier boundaries, or reprogramming different painful beliefs you have about yourself to increase your self-esteem and self-confidence. As you do this work, you position yourself to be in a more secure and whole space, becoming emotionally available to the right people in your life for future relationships and showing up as the best version of yourself for your love life to come. There's one last important thing I want to share. I've also done this work when I was in client practice before running the personal development school programs. What I would see is that sometimes limerence would be a root cause for why people may stray in a relationship or cheat. What I would end up doing with individuals who were experiencing limerence outside of their marriage or relationship is help them discover what needs and traits their object of limerence represented and learn to communicate those needs in their actual relationship with their partner or spouse. In doing this, I would see two powerful things. Their desire to stray from the relationship greatly diminished and their overall relationship quality improved dramatically. Of course, as a side effect of this, you would also see that as soon as they integrated those traits within themselves and needs within their relationship dynamic, they stopped being in limerence with that external person. So, I think this tells us very powerful aspects about ourselves and our programming and what we're yearning for. It may even go so far as to disprove this idea of love at first sight, although who's to say there isn't some sort of romantic or spiritual element about that we just aren't aware of yet. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to dive deeper into limerence, I have a course you can check out fully for free for a limited time. It's all about overcoming limerence by integrating those aspects of self, and it has a whole list of traits and needs that you can refer to that some of these signposts may be indicating you need to meet in your own life. I hope you enjoyed it. Consider liking, sharing, and subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you in future.